Hey, good morning, YouTube. How's everybody doing this morning? Hump Day, Wednesday. Thanks for checking in with us. Looks like we've got people checking in early this morning. How's it going? Irish USMC vets with us. Tommy Boy 9. What is happening? You can do it. Good morning. Fractional Truth. Guten Morgen. We'll just do the international version. And Castaways with us also. Early crowd this morning. Thanks for checking in. There's your weather snapshot up. Lots of stuff going on in the middle of the country. I got that hurricane tropical storm rolling into Mississippi last night in Alabama. As you can see, the swirl down there. But it looks like the worst weather's up there in the Midwest and Wisconsin and Canada. It actually looks worse, but I would imagine the winds aren't as bad. So that is going on. So I try to adjust here. And so checking in on the hurricane status that rolled through. Fortunately, it was kind of low level, bringing lots of rain, though. That is the actually, that's not even updated. Yeah, that should be an updated image. Yeah, 9:05. It's today, 12:45 GMT. Rolling in on Alabama and Mississippi pretty hard. Haven't seen anything. There was hardly anything on Twitter about it, so I think it's just a big rain event. Hopefully, everybody doesn't get flooded out, because it was such a low level, Category 1. Dan Home in the Sticks channel over there did a little video on getting everything locked down and ready the other day. But this other rain coming through the middle of the country is not going to be any less, it doesn't look like. Hey, Angel R, what's going on? Where you been hiding out at? And which why are you changing your icon there, your thumbnail icon? It confuses me as to who you really are. Yeah, you've had the same one for so long. Are you doing a rebranding campaign, Angel, so that you step up your game? But so Tommy Boy says Russia's bombing a bunch of things in Syria, not being talked about. You'd imagine that would be ongoing uh, with the things that's going on over there, but hard to say, I guess. That's just like most of the bombing things that we do over there. You don't hear about in the mainstream either, Tommy Boy. A lot of the stuff, if it's not politically expedient, they don't talk about. All right, Angel, that's the official seal. It's hard to tell though; it's so tiny on the screen there. We're right on. Stefan Minkenberg has joined us this morning. Good morning. So, moving into order of business today, we'll start off with going into space, since we got in a space force and everything. I always look. It was funny when these stories about mining in space came out about probably 6 months before that. Me and my son were talking about something similar, and he's like, I'm gonna get rich by going to maybe one of the moons of Jupiter he was talking about and mining. I'm like, well, you better get on that. And then like a couple months later, they were talking about mining asteroids. I'm like, there you go. You got your future job prospects. You better get your business running, because people are going to beat you to the punch if you don't get started now. That's what probably what they'll. What's a Tesla's guy's name? SpaceX. What's the guy's? Musk. Elon Musk. That's probably what he's angling after. That's probably what he's been aiming for the whole time. But you put a number like 700 quintillion, you can't even fathom how much that really is. Think about, I would like a breakdown of this in man hours and investment in that way to really get an idea of how much this is going to be worth. Not only the gold, but the other innumerable list of resources and minerals they're talking about coming out of these asteroids, and even the moons of Jupiter, things like that. That it seems like it's only a matter of time. It ain't like Alien was not fictional; it was just predictive, I guess you'd say. But so this is let's check out this little screen share they got going. I don't think there's any audio to it. Blue is asteroids near Earth. Orange represents main belt asteroids between Mars and Jupiter. This is as of documented as of 1999 to 2018. Okay. if they get it going. Oh, there you go. So that all those, if you can see those dots, I don't think there's a ton. That's 2009, 2018. Holy cow. We're surrounded by asteroids and we didn't even know it. I think that's what that was meant to represent is there's a lot more asteroids out there than were documented in, just in our lifetimes. As it said from 1999 that progressed into what their understanding was of what was nearby, I guess you would say. Again, looking on a 3D scale, I don't want to see it up next. This is probably so. Space mining is in the process of sending spacecraft to asteroids, moons, comets, and even planets to collect valuable minerals. USGS officials are now investigating how they can expand their operation to search for resources in space. Yeah, because that's the USGS's mind to look for resources. Is that the USGS's mission? Somebody look that up to find resources, and they hope to team up with NASA. We would think they would have to because I hope the USGS doesn't have space capability because that's really been a boondoggle then of hiding money out in $1,000 shovels and stuff. Minerals and other resources in space have been estimated to be worth up to 700 quintillion. That's a 7 with 20 zeros after it. Yeah, we can't even fathom that. I'd like to know the ounces that works out to. Are they using current gold prices? Um, or other resources, I guess. It says minerals and other resources, but the headline says gold. So they kind of mix their message there. Or maybe they're just using the term gold rush anecdotally. And that's just on the asteroids between Mars and Jupiter. Yep, sounds like a good reason to make a space force. That's what their angle is. Yeah, well, the USGS will probably have control of the space force if this is going this way. I think we need to jump on the Elon Musk bandwagon so that we get some private entrepreneurs up there before the government gets there and takes it all. I wonder if there's tariff fees for bringing stuff back from outer space. Trump's going to tariff the mines from the asteroids. USGS research geologist Laszlo Keste revealed they are hopeful of getting funding from the U.S. Congress to begin probing this space fortune. Oh, just what we need, another boondoggle. They'll never learn. Good old, that's got to be an antiquated drawing there. That looks like something that's from the 80s or something. Space drawing. So I guess this is an article in space.com. At this point, we've done enough work to feel confident that the methods the USGS uses to assess mineral energy and water resources on Earth can be used to assess space resources with minimal modification. We're taking a number of steps to be prepared for that possibility. Talking about congressional funding. More old cartoons, renderings, people's bright ideas. Trump has already talked about further American expansion into space. Space Force, etc. NASA space probes have visited some asteroids and comets, right? So, director for the Center for space resources at the Colorado School of Mines. Angel Abdu Madrid. That's your Angel R. That's your side job, right? It sounds like your alias. The space resources community will benefit greatly from working together with the USGS to assess the location and value of minerals, energy, and water on the moon, Mars, and asteroids. Yeah, there was an article a couple weeks ago saying that they believed there was water on the moon, which kind of doesn't make sense, but that's what they said. Kind of makes that whole race to the moon thing more relevant. China and Russia are also known to be exploring the possibility of space mining to get their slice of the cash. So the space race might be going on full bore here shortly. Looks like that was the end of it. Some related articles. So the space race is once again upon us as everybody tries to get resources, more stuff. One thing I question though is this $700 quintillion here. Once inflation kicks in, what's that number going to be? It's going to be like a 7 with like 30 zeros after it. Putting in dollar figures is such a bad way to measure. Until you tell me some ounces and pounds of resources, it doesn't mean anything. Because this directly, we'll just kick over here to our Zero Hedge article. Paper money eventually returns to its intrinsic value, zero. Thought that was a good segue. When you have some number out there thrown out there like that, you got to remember that it's just a number, because it's based on paper money that is really worth zero, but our labor puts value into it. But the paper can always still go back to zero, like we see what's going on with Venezuela, because we can never stop making trees and other ways to make money. It's almost an endless resource, if you will. So this is via the goldtelegraph.com, but the annual inflation rate could hit 1,000,000% by year's end in Venezuela, where the price of coffee has doubled every few weeks. And we've documented this and talked about this for months on here. But I think the biggest comparison was you see that number over on asteroid mining, 700 quintillion, like that number means nothing. Literally, because paper money is literally valueless, except what labor we're willing to put into it. And that's what I started off with, having what are the man hours it's going to take to get there and get those resources. There isn't any food, but people can no longer afford food, but that's okay because there isn't any food to be found. South America's once wealthy nation has spiraled from secure and stable into a state of hyperinflation. Venezuela's experiencing the results of government mismanagement, corruption, and socialist ideology. And it's not just Venezuela, obviously. This is a banking problem worldwide at this point. And we talked about how Venezuela has taken off the zeros off their cash to devalue it or revalue it. As it says here, Maduro's solution to the problem is to proudly lob 3 zeros off the hyperinflated bolivar and call it a miracle solution. If you haven't, this has been a pretty popular picture here of this gentleman sitting in his shop in Venezuela from years ago to now, and the empty shelves that socialist principles have created, I guess. At one time, Venezuela had the largest oil reserves in the world, kind of like these asteroids have endless resources too, I'm sure. But what's that going to mean when inflation goes crazy? So yeah, this just goes into the misadventures of Venezuela's history, which are fairly well documented. The mismanagement of oil and resources. But Venezuela is printing currency at the speed of a copy machine. I don't know how they do it. How would they print money that fast? The more money that is injected into circulation, the more it becomes devalued. The cup of coffee, and their answer is this is going to help, and it's never helped. It's like people never watch history; they just try to cover their own, is trying to save themselves without. It's like a reflex of government to print money, even though in the end it's never going to work out for them. Venezuela has lost most of its imports as it remains in a state of unprecedented crisis. People are starving, and the average weight loss is 25 pounds due to lack of food. I don't know. I could probably use 25 pounds of weight loss. Maybe I should go to Venezuela for a couple months. For Venezuela to reach this low abyss has taken a combination of corruption and mismanagement on every level of its nationalized industries. Indeed. Oh, and the corruption is so deep, as we talked about when they were having water shortages and having basically the army misallocate water by taking it from where it's supposed to go to their favored people who are greasing their palms. And it's like whoever's got the money, whoever's got the way to pay what that captain or somebody wants was the ones getting the water. It wasn't like going to the people, of course, among other things, and the hijacked convoys of food and everything else. But there's nothing new in this article about Venezuela, but in particular, I just wanted to remind people of the devaluation of currency across the board. It's not just a Venezuelan problem. It's going to be all of ours problem. And this throwing out this $700 quintillion figure over here uh, doesn't do it justice of what that number really means. And it's really just a number. They just make it up as they go along. It's numbers in a computer. You could say it's 20,000 quintillion because that's probably what it's going to end up being in dollar terms when they actually get the time to go do it the way inflation goes. So another more recent article on Venezuela as well out there. Hollowed out Venezuela counts the cost of crisis, political isolation, and economic collapse. This is the Financial Times.com. People are starting to really use the term financial economic collapse more so than they used to. Oh, I didn't know there was a. Okay. So this is just documenting the crisis there as well. I had meant. Okay, yeah, I did. But check it on the side chat real quick. See what kind of good comments we got here. Official Confederate seal. Okay. Hey, Castaway. Good morning. The Fox station in Dallas ran with a truck, right? Some idiot ran his car into the station and was yelling treason or something crazy. The amount of mental illness and psychopathy that was going to be going on is not going to get better. It's going to get worse. People are going to start acting out or continue to act out. It's only going to get worse, I guess you'd say. Between this Nike stuff and Trump derangement syndrome and people burning their clothes and cutting up their shoes, people aren't focusing on problems. They're just thinking, blaming everybody but some of the real issues. Time Boy says protesters are going to start sounding off again in the Supreme Justice hearing. Yeah, they did that yesterday, right? The staged sideshow events. That stuff just, these people get into Senate hearings and congressional hearings. It's like, I bet you I couldn't get in there. I'm gonna make a bet. I should I should try that if I wasn't so far away. I'll make a bet that I couldn't get in those hearings. But yet these people who are known agitators and known um, dissidents almost, they know they're going to go in there to cause problems, but yet they let them in there, and they wait till they act up and they make a statement, and then they drag them out. It's kind of like they're allowing them to show the heavy hand of the state. You know, hey, you can do it. Says we couldn't stop them if we wanted to. Yeah, I don't think it's a matter of we don't want to stop them. Well, if we're talking about like a Armageddon scenario, but it's about getting out there and getting on them. Think they still? I'm pretty sure we could land on one. Getting the resources out of them is a whole nother problem. I'm sure a lot of robots will be involved in a lot of that. Who is Stefan says really she is too young to working for the banksters? Who you talking about, Stefan? Who is she? I'm not sure who you're talking about there. Oh, now they're okay. Tommy Boy's tracking it real time. The idiots are starting to interrupt the hearing, right? And it's just a sideshow. I wouldn't even, because it makes one side rush to defend him, and it makes the other side dig in more. Like, see, he's a racist misogynist because these people don't like him. Hey, Wes S has joined us. Good morning. What's going on, Wes? Paper airplanes, paper money, they both fly only when pushed, but fall in the end, right? Good. I've never heard that, Wes. A good one. Hey, Ann, good morning. How are you? What? Thanks for joining the chat. Venezuela's our preview. Yep, it's a worldwide problem. It's just a matter of what it takes. Now, I did briefly talk, I don't know, last week or a couple, or maybe 2 weeks ago, about you got all these independent crises, Turkey, South Africa, Venezuela, but at some point the stuff's going to be intertwined. But the dollar is kind of dragging all these currencies around, and it's going to be a lot different for the U.S. because we are the one that is, the U.S. dollar is basically a billy club, like Tommy Boy says above, beating these other currencies down. They talked about it in one, how the the strong quote unquote U.S. dollar is causing the problems inherent in these other currencies. What happens when the U.S. dollar gets weak? There's nothing to drag it down necessarily or to prop it up. So it's going to be a much different dynamic when it hits the U.S. currency. That's just something to think about. I haven't wrapped my mind around how that would work out because has never happened to us at that level, where the leading currency just collapsed and everything else around it, that's propped up by it. But something would have to, I guess, rise and supersede the U.S. currency at the same time at some point, maybe. Would the EU or the Russian or China currencies be able to bump and go rise above it? I don't know. They're too intertwined, in my opinion, and that's what would cause the worldwide problem, in my estimation. But to be determined. Prepare nonetheless, is my perspective. Hey, thanks for providing your 2 cents, Wes. Tommy Boy says they need more video from down there to see what they are stealing and tearing up so we can keep it in our minds. Are we talking about Venezuela, Tommy Boy? Were they pillaging and looting and rioting? And I don't think they're able to riot now. They don't have enough food to get the energy to riot. And everybody that's Everybody that's of a mind to get active has left the country. There was an article about that was recently the biggest thing right now is the migration crisis, and basically it's like this is Al Jazeera headline: Venezuela government denies facing migration crisis. Like you've had 2.5 million people leave your country. It's a problem. And then Brazil's obviously locked down their border, et cetera, et cetera. And then Brazil has its national museum burnt down. I don't know if they're related or not. If we want to get into conspiracies, maybe. Hey, HRM weapons machinist, good morning. Says, depending on how much money you got, it's going stupid. What are you talking about? Man, I guess you're saying if you got the money, you don't worry about it. The other stuff. Pub for space gold. Right? And good point. And it may be set up for the cashless system. And we talked about that with Venezuela doing that crypto oil backed currency. It may be a test case here of everybody else like looking at how they implement this, and because they had those bank holidays and then they implemented a crypto oil backed currency to go along with their revaluation of their currency. It's always suspect that they're going to try to get a cashless or a not physical currency. Even like it's one thing to not have cash because gold, silver, brass, copper, lead, anything else has a physical intrinsic value is not cash, right? It's a real money. It's a real system of exchange. But going cashless and into the ethereal world of electronic currencies we're almost there. I mean, you look at your bank account, you look at people are paid by direct deposit via electronic means, your ATM, it never becomes real until that cash comes out the ATM because nobody gets paid hardly in cash anymore. And as they've talked about, there's not enough cash out there for everybody. If everybody wanted their money, it wouldn't happen. It just flat out not even close to happening. Zuckerberg alone would drain all the cash out of the system if he went to go cash out all his assets. There's not enough cash out there to float all the demand that's supposedly pent up in all these bank accounts and stocks and other things that have a monetary value. So yeah, that's a good question. A good concern is that it could be a setup for a cashless system. All right, you can do it. Have a good day. And I don't know, you can't enjoy a doctor's appointment, but hopefully it's good news. Hopefully it all works out in the end. HRM's going all in or bust, putting it all on black and let it ride. Right. All right. Speaking of collapsing countries and Venezuela, checking in on South Africa today. This article's from yesterday. This is an article about the farming murders, which are continuously denied by all the socialists and communists throughout the world, really, trying to detract from it, and even going so far as to say they deserve it. There are plenty of fairly high level, maybe not respectable people, but well-known people who are like, yeah, these farmers in South Africa deserve what they're getting because 300 years ago, X happened or whatever, and apartheid. Yeah. So apparently this is an extract article from Ernst Roth's book, Kill the Boer, Government Complicity in South Africa's Brutal Farm Murders. So there's a new book coming out, it looks like, and we've talked about this in depth, obviously. But it looked like a good article to make everybody aware of. Maybe go buy the book. It might be interesting. But we've had the communist party leader in South Africa up on stage with large crowds chanting "Kill the Boers." So it's not like it's anything that's not been said by the government itself. A little less done in deed as well as in words. But this article goes into kind of the back and forth of both sides. On one side, you have the fact that South Africa's government doesn't document farm killings or attacks. There are no official statistics. So everybody's kind of using their own numbers and talking about any of this. When I had mentioned the guy on Twitter that does do a lot of the documentation, let me pull up Carlson. Is that his name? He's had several attacks over the last 2 days that he's tweeted out. He maps it, talks about the victims and what the situation was. Oftentimes it's just a theft with an assault. Ian Cameron is his name. IANCAMERON. They have that group called AfriForm. I think he's with them. They're kind of like the political lobbying group. But there was just one a few hours ago. He talked about the Northern Cape area, elderly farmer beaten with shovels, sprayed in eyes with weed poison. 2 suspects fled on foot. And often he talks about how the police either won't follow up or won't investigate when there is an attack like that. But that's a good account to go follow if you're on the Twitter. He might be on other platforms as well. But into this article, still got time here. I think this is my last article. Yeah, this is the last thing I had pulled up. So, will that Tommy Boy keep us updated on the sideshow at the Senate hearings? Yeah, I figure Tommy Boy, if that Sarsour character is involved in it, it's definitely a part of the sideshow. She is a true agent of the state. But it talks about Genocide Watch. Gregory Stanton is the president of Genocide Watch, conducted a study in 2014 to investigate the claims. So, according to Genocide Watch, genocide is a process that develops in 10 stages that are predictable but not inexplorable. At each stage, preventive measures can stop it. The process is not linear, and stages may occur simultaneously. Logically, later stages must be preceded by earlier stages, but not all stages continue to operate throughout the process. That's complicated, but okay. So in 2014, Genocide Watch said it was not underway in South Africa. It had become quite concerned about the escalation of racism in South Africa when Malema, who was the communist leader there, he was president of the African National Congress Youth League at that time. Now he's president of the country. And this is a 2014 review said they were in stage 6 polarization and elevated it to preparation in stage 7. So what's stage 8? Because we're probably there now, if not 9. After Malema was expelled from the ANC, Genocide Watch returned South Africa to polarization. We remain concerned about his economic freedom fighters, which is the guys that wear all the red berets that they see in these videos, all amped up and excited and chanting about killing people and taking their land, etc. Just a bunch of urban degenerates who are easily useful idiots of the Marxists. One of the statements of the Genocide Watch survey study: the criminals who are inspired to commit hate crimes by Malia's racist incitement may not be Marxist, but their desecration of bodies are definite signs that the murders are racist hate crimes. Well, that's the way because that's the way you incite people. You find what divides them, you stoke it, you elevate it, you promote it, and then people go out and act on their own, and the government sits back and laughs at it while they can fill the vacuum and fill the void. How big is this article? This article's pretty long, so I'm not gonna be able to go into all this, but it is in your links in the description box. They define crimes against humanity. This is more about the hate crime side of it, the racist side of it. But really, the biggest thing to remember is that it's just a divisive tactic to get the government more control, is what people need to really understand what's going on. That's the only way I think you're going to get. If any of these South Africans have a brain in their head, that's what they'll be focusing on. Not the fact that the racism exists, which it does, but it's being used as a tool to destroy the country so the Marxists can take control and everybody will be equally worthless, as we like to say in the core. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless. That's what the government is hoping to impose on everybody, not just the white people, because the black farmers are just as concerned, as we've had documented in many articles, with their land being at risk as well, because the government's going to take it all, regardless of color, because that's the real agenda. The white man is just a good excuse, convenient excuse to gain their means. So that's about that for that part of the story, folks. Tommy Boy, you got any updates on those Senate hearings? Are they going to have to cancel them? They don't even have a hot link to the hearings, it doesn't look like, from the front of Drudge. Usually they have a hot link to any live hearings like that might be a live feed or something. Probably on C-SPAN, I would imagine. Wes S. forgot to hit the like button. You forgot or don't forget. Or you're reminding people. And are those tobacco farmers you're talking about in South Africa? And they farm a variety of things. They're a very food production heavy nation. They put a lot of food. They feed a lot of not only South Africa but Africa and elsewhere. Their productions went way down since a lot of these issues about the last 10 years have come up. But well, okay, Stefan, what credits are you talking about? White farmers who were killed still have to pay their credits? Is that like taxes or something? But yeah, they get you going in and get you coming out as well, type thing. I wouldn't doubt it. And says Ebola equals elite better off left alone is enough to keep you out of Africa. Ebola is a problem. They had an outbreak early in the year and they had some others follow it right after that. Most of it's all in the central Congo, it looks like. But yeah, there's no reason to go there. I haven't lost anything there to have a reason to go back, so I'm good too. Tommy Boy says every 3 minutes another noisemaker screaming. Just an update on the sideshow, right? Yeah, it's just obviously it's a distraction, and to what end? You know, just so some politics can play divisive politics with it. Just what they're doing in South Africa, using those useful idiots to continue to divide the people. Yeah, Stefan, the Obama went down there and praised the South Africans a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, who's surprised by that? A Marxist going down and praising Marxist. It's pretty much figures. No doubt about that. Wes S says whatever is really going on, it will be too late for 90% of us. Be in the stink before we smell splatter from the fan. Right? Yeah, it'll be all around us. But I think most of the people paying attention are in the 10% West that will at least see it coming and have our rain jackets on at least to prevent that splatter from getting all over us. uh, yeah, Marxism, communism, it's all the same HRM, socialism, central statism is like call it a disease now at this point because too many people who call themselves conservative Republicans are statist as well because they just seek more government control. They're not true liberty minded individuals. Here's that truck ramming into that Fox station. Just where I saw the headline you're talking about, Tommy Boy, here in Dallas, of all places. Cities are not a good place to be, folks. Get out of the cities while you can. Hey, Wes, was this a friend of yours? Seeing how it's down in your neighborhood. This is not a store. This is we know your size and style. Oh, no, I didn't want to do that. And it's not gonna. Anyway, man intentionally crashed his truck into the side of Dallas 4 Wednesday before jumping out of the vehicle and started ranting. He left behind a suspicious bag. Middle-aged white. If you were to look at this in any other country, middle-aged white. What I should say, military-aged white male. Easily could be no injuries reported. So I think this guy was a far left loony, I believe. What do you think, Wes? Yeah, and they farm all kinds of stuff in South Africa. Lots of food. Well, Stefan, I think there might be some hope for Germany if you have those protests in Chemnitz that were going on this past week in Eastern Germany and stuff. Like that's a sign of hope. It's just a matter if the enforcement class ever wakes up to the fact that they're enforcing and protecting the wrong people. That's the same problem we're going to have in America. The enforcement class is the one where that's where the fight is going to happen uh, at this point. The security forces, military police are they're well armed. It's just a matter of how far into the oppression of the people are they going to go before they realize they're pushing the wrong side. Because at some point, the police state is going to continue to grow and grow until if people are just so brainwashed into thinking that they're doing the right thing still, that's the issue. It's about the information war, as somebody just famously quoted as saying. Those people have to be aware of truly what is going on. It's just a matter of where the breaking point is. Hey, J Foom, man, I don't know how to JEUFM. I'll just go with that. Oh yeah, J Foom. It's going to be a mass starvation, just like all communist operations. Once they seize the land, nobody's going to be able to work it effectively because communism never works effectively, and people are going to starve. Yeah, no doubt. West lives in a slicker just to be safe, right? Irish has got his poncho. Right, right. I'm in the high desert. I don't worry so much about the poncho thing, but I keep an insulating layer around. Actually, I do have a rain jacket, I guess you'd say, just nothing heavy duty though. All right, folks, good comments there in the side chat. We're going to move along. We're going to have to move along in this day. Thanks for checking in. Remember, links are in the description box, especially to that politics here, the politics web article and the FT article. They're both kind of longer. Couldn't get through the whole thing here, but go check it out at your leisure. Hope everybody has a good day, a good hump day. We'll see you back here Friday morning or some other place on the interwebs potentially. So y'all have a good day. Thanks for checking in. Live free.